Szép jó hajnalt mindenkinek. Thorin vagyok. Ez pedig a What Remains of Edith Finch folytatása. Oké.
This will be obvious later, but my mom never told me any of these stories. Edie would have, but Mom didn't like bringing up the past. Though, when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly.
Oké, kusszunk be. Következő helyre. Vajon milyen eszelős
I
történet?
spent a lot of time in Great-Grandma Edie's room.
Jön elő.
Louis died a week before we left, but Edie had already started to memorialize him. Her room was like a museum. For 500 years, the Finches have been famous throughout Norway for their fortune and misfortune. Odin Finch buries the latest victims of the family curse, his wife Ingeborg and their newborn son, Johan. On January 7th, 1937, he set sail with his family and his house, hoping to leave the curse behind.
Oké.
But 40-foot waves off the coast of Washington send the house and Odin to the bottom of the sea.
Reális.
Odin's daughter Edie, with husband Sven and baby Molly, step ashore on their new home, Orcas Island. Odin Finch is the first to be buried in the new family cemetery. His daughter Edie is already dreaming of a new Finch house.
Oké, és hogyan jutok ki innen?
Whatever's wrong with this family, it goes back a long ways.
Oké. Ezzel kaptunk még egy embert a mi kis könyvünkbe. Sven, Edie.
One summer, they evacuated the island, but Edie refused to go. For a few weeks, she was a celebrity. I hadn't thought of myself as Edith Jr. for a long, long time. Edie gave a big interview about a mole man living under the Finch house. My mom was furious.
Oké. Újabb eszelős történet készülődik, úgy érzem.
When Edie told people Sven was killed by a dragon, she could also have said he was building a dragon-shaped slide that collapsed. She could have, but she didn't. Even in her 90s, sometimes Edie seemed a lot younger than my mother.
No. Most hova?
The only trace Grandpa Sam's first wife Kay left on the house was the pink bathroom.
És mit nem mondjak? Pozitív
It
lett
was a
volna.
pretty big trace.
ha nem teszi. Oh, hello.
There's a secret in this bathroom. It's in the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard. It's hidden in this book.
Ooh.
Sven gave Sam an old camera he'd refurbished. He never put it down.
Okay. Titkos járat. Oké, újabb gyanús szoba. Ezúttal potenciális űrlakókkal.
I knew Grandpa Sam had a twin. And that he never talked about him.
Oh,
I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
kis űrhajót épített magának. Gyertyákkal, mert hát mi mással.
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it.
Hintázzunk. De
My
el van
brother said
törve.
he'd die before he ate another mushroom. And he did. At Barbara's funeral, we swore we'd never be afraid again. And he wasn't. I think Calvin always wanted to fly.
Mindjárt fog. Öt lábbal hintázni, ez mindig jó ötlet.
Calvin! Dinner's ready! Coming!
But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it. I told him going around was impossible. Maybe if I hadn't said that,
Calvin! I'm not gonna tell you again!
maybe if the wind hadn't picked up, and maybe he'd still be here. But I doubt it. I think he'd already made up his mind. That's what I want to remember about my brother.
No.
The day he made up his mind to fly. And he did.
Calvin's story
módszer.
felt strangely familiar. When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same thing. After the funeral, Edie roped off Calvin's half of the room.
Oh, nem from Fort.
Mom said Grandpa Sam enlisted at 18 and never set foot in the room again.
Ó, viszonylag egyértelmű. Na, mit találunk? Oké. Teljesen reális.
The
Titkos
passages were
járat.
of pretty tight fit. They'd obviously been built for smaller hands and bellies.
Ki tudnánk menni, de nem akarunk.
Growing up, I always thought of Barbara as a child star.
Barbara. Penelope. Happy birthday. Némi cigi.
I never thought about how hard it must have been for her afterwards. Of all the stories people wrote about Barbara's death, I'm surprised Edie saved this one.
Old Jack here with another ghastly tale inspired by America's most unfortunate family. I'm calling it The Surprise Ending of Barbara Finch.
Ouch.
As a child star, Barbara was famous for her scream. Now at 16, she was all washed up. A has-been. But in a lucky break, she'd been asked to perform her signature scream at a local convention for monster movie fans. It was just the boost her career needed. Unfortunately, her scream hadn't aged well.
Getting better. I think you just need the right motivation.
Her biggest fan and current boyfriend, Rick, was about to demonstrate when...
Now that was a great scream.
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had to be rushed to the emergency room. So Barbara got stuck babysitting her youngest brother, Walter. Her convention comeback was cancelled.
Okay, I'm hearing frustration, but I'm not hearing terror. What if I tried...
A gang of hoodlums in Halloween masks have been terrorizing Orcas Island tonight. Police are urging residents to...
That came from the basement.
You're right! Also, I loved your delivery on that. Why is your basement door locked?
Because my dad likes making puzzles and secret passages. There's a key hidden in the music box. The secret is to keep winding and winding until finally the key pops out.
Thanks, babe. I'll be back in a sec.
20 minutes later, Rick hadn't returned.
Ouch.
So Barbara went to look for him, right on cue.
Hát, hol vagyunk olyan hülyék?
She reached for the music box. And as she wound the key, she listened for Rick, but the house was silent.
Oh!
Rick?
Barb, relax. I was just trying to scare you to help you find your scream.
Well, I'm not scared, Rick. I'm furious.
Then act furious. All I'm getting from you now is that you're hurt and confused and you...
She threw him out, but she kept a little something to remember him by.
Barb, have you seen my other crutch?
And she was still holding it when she fell asleep watching the late picture show. Hours later...
Barbara! Walter, what's going on up there? Ah! Okay, I'm coming up, but if this is a trick, you're dead, Walter.
Okay.
Was coming from inside the house.
Oh dear.
The monsters had come to surprise her. For Barbara, it was a dream come true. Then she saw what kind of monsters they were, and she realized what was about to happen. She was going to be famous. And with her final breath, Barbara Finch gave the performance of her life. I wasn't there myself, but I hear Barbara was magnificent. Poor girl. She had a taste for stardom. But unfortunately, so did her fans. Of course, the police blamed it all on poor Rick, who disappeared the same night. And little Walter, hiding under his bed the whole time. He took it all pretty hard, but that's another story. As for Barbara, tucked inside the music box is all they ever found of her. Her ear. Now that's what I call a real eerie tale.
Ouch.
Edie told me all Barbara wanted was to be remembered, as absurd as that comic was. Maybe what Edie saw was a happy ending.
No, hát néhány elemet lezártunk. Folytatjuk legközelebb innen.